I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be fear of a relationship. I've got an email here actually from a woman today. And before we get into it, I've got a bunch of quotes that I'm going to read. The first one is from Publius Cyrus. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but he lived a couple thousand years ago. He said, "'Tis foolish to fear what you cannot avoid." And this one is from, I believe, Timothy in the Bible. "God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind." This one's from Deepak Chopra, which I really like. He says, "Your true self, which is your spirit, your soul, is immune to criticism, and it is unfearful of any challenge, and it feels beneath no one." So I've got another one here. This one's from a Carnelian sage. "Fear is the denial of the existence of the divine power that resides in you." And the last one from Eleanor Roosevelt, who was FDR, Franklin Roosevelt's wife. He was the president during World War II. She said, "You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face." So I got an email here, obviously, from a woman. She says, "Hi, Corey. I just saw the newest video you did about impatient men, and it really got my attention. My boyfriend seems to be a little bit impatient recently, and our relationship is going so fast that I don't want to speed it up." Now for the guys that are watching this, remember I talk all the time about how you've got to love the person. In other words, you must love in such a way that the person that you love feels free. And typical guys trying to rush to the finish line, rush to the altar or the engagement finish line, whatever it is that he thinks it's going to be, you can already see the effect that it's starting to have in this woman, because she's feeling like, oh my God, I'm losing my freedom here. And you'll see how it's starting to turn her off. And so this is cool, because the stuff I talk about all the time, now you're going to see it from a woman's perspective. And by the way, honey, thanks for a great email. It's a really great one to analyze, because you bring up a lot of great things here. So she says, "I like that he knows what he wants, although I want our love to grow naturally without any hurry, step by step. Here's a description of our relationship." I mean, I've said this before, I had a girlfriend years ago. Not only did she pull me aside, but her mother pulled me aside and she said, "Corey, you got to let the feelings build. You cannot try to force things. You've got to let it happen. You've got to let her come to you." And so that's obviously what for the person that wrote the email, that's obviously what's going on with your boyfriend here, is that he's starting to move things a little too fast. He's starting to force things, and now you're feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my freedom here. So she says, "We started a date with my boyfriend 5 months ago, and things have been progressing naturally and very quick already from the start. I've never experienced feeling so secure with a man before." Well, that's a good sign. She says, "We met online, and the first exclusive 4 months were full of deep getting to know each other on Skype and camera, and we both experienced various relationships, even a marriage, and also went through a divorce. So for the first time in years, since after we've each had our respective divorces, we are able to trust fully, and we let go of most of the fears which we've been having for years. After we met in person, we only became more and more sure that we belong together. We both have been working on ourselves a lot the past few years in order to be healed and welcoming for the new love." I mean, it's really important when a relationship ends, before you get into another committed relationship, is that you got to get to a place where you can enjoy being single, you can enjoy being by yourself, because it's important to know who you are when you're not defined by another person or someone you're in a relationship with. Because otherwise you end up getting into a relationship and you never were really comfortable being you. And since you really hadn't become comfortable in your own skin and being you, there's a good chance you get into a relationship with somebody who's not comfortable with themselves in that same fashion, and therefore when the real you starts coming out, they don't like it, and you can create problems down the road, as opposed to you knowing who you are and living your truth and speaking your truth from the get-go. Because you can only hide who you really are in a relationship for about 90 days. I have a client of mine that was like, they fell totally in love with this girl, and she was in love with him, but after about 90 days, the real her came out, and he realized this girl was young, immature, devious, and all the red flags were there all along. But because she was just really hot and the sex was fucking fantastic, she was half his age, it's all that shit kind of goes by the wayside. And so the idea is that you don't want to go down that road. It's like, so as you're getting to know someone, what you're trying to do is to take measured steps and to not get so wound up emotionally that your good judgment and your common sense goes out the fucking window. Because when you do that, then you get yourself in a situation where you've opened yourself up emotionally, and because you made a bad choice, now you're having to deal with the pain of a breakup. And breakups suck. Even when you're the one that does the breaking up, it still is not pleasant, and it takes time for the sting and that pain to go away. So she says, the difference between us is that he's super sure he loves me and tells me this a lot. And I'm not as verbal, but I show my love in action instead. A good book you should read is The 5 Love Languages, because some people show their love through affection. Other people say it. They verbalize it. Other people, I mean, everybody's different. Some people, it's buying gifts. And so there's basically 5 main love languages. I can't think of all of them right off the top of my head at the moment. But where it's helpful, where that book is really helpful, because it's only like, I think, 100 pages. What makes it really helpful is that you can, because if you're dating a relationship with somebody who expresses love by saying it verbally, like maybe in this particular case your boyfriend is a more verbal kind of a person, and you may be more of a person that likes to show it affectionately. Well, over time, the longer you're together, without realizing it, if you're a person who gives gifts and you're in a relationship with somebody who shows affection, you could both be communicating that you love one another, but both be leaving each other feeling unloved just because of your love languages, the way that you learned to go about showing and expressing your affection. She says, I want to make it right, and it takes time for me to fall in love deeply, and I feel he is the right guy. I mean, how many times I said women fall in love slowly over time? Here she is, again, confirming what I say all the time. We have a very strong connection and a lot of love, understanding, and respect for each other, topped with great communication and amazing sex. Not to mention these 4 months of talking and making sure our values are aligned with each other and knowing we are headed in the same direction. That's good. She says, anyway, last month, our 5th month together, he came to visit me and we were traveling around Europe, learning about each other in person, and things got really serious. My boyfriend tells me he wants me with him and he wants to marry me, which isn't scary because I want it too, but I do want to take care of our current stuff rather than planning what's going to be in a year. I do see myself being with him in the U.S. I guess he's from the U.S. in the U.S., but as of now, I live in the European Union. I have a lot of things to work even harder on just to make sure our relationship is possible in the future. From the other side, he wants it as soon as possible, so he's obviously a little impatient. And if you love this guy and you want to help him, you gotta communicate to him, because you gotta understand, us guys, we're logically driven, and we're driven to try to make our girl happy. And if our girl is unhappy, we take it personally. If she's happy, obviously we take credit for that. We say, hey, she's happy because of me. So it's important when you're in a relationship, and any other woman that's watching this, that you make the guy in your life feel that you appreciate him and that you explain to him in a logic way. Because if you talk around in circles and give anecdotes and talk about stories of your girlfriends or whatever, we're not going to get it. You have to come right out and say, you're really amazing and I love you, but you're pushing things to the point where it's starting to feel forced. And that's a bit of a turnoff. It makes me feel like I'm going to lose my freedom. And so you just need to chill out. You need to back off a little bit, not call me as much, not be focused on the future as much, not be bringing up the relationship stuff. Notice when I bring up those things. And explain to them that, obviously, as a woman, you're an emotional being. And when you say something, it's based upon how you're feeling in the moment, because a lot of guys don't understand that. And so if you really care about this guy, explain how you operate. Explain how women operate in general in a relationship, so he can, because we just want to we want to get it right. Us guys, masculine energy, we're driven to succeed. We're driven to make things a success. And so obviously he wants to make your relationship a success. And so you've got to communicate in a logic way, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, so he can understand it. And then if he's pushing too hard, let him know. Say, honey, I love you, but you're pushing a little too hard right now. Don't get mad. Don't get upset with me. I want to let you know because I want to feel good. And when you're doing what you're doing right now, or what you're saying right now, it makes me feel fearful that I'm going to lose my freedom, or that maybe you're acting a little bit insecure. That's how I'm taking it. And you got to learn to speak to one another in a loving way. And once a week, another thing that you and your boyfriend should do is just say, over the past week, on a scale of 1 to 10, how was I as a boyfriend? If you're, obviously if you're saying it to your guy, ask him how you were as his girlfriend. And if he says a 7 out of 10, you say, okay, instead of getting upset about it, say, okay, well, what would I have done differently? What would I have done differently this past week in order for you to have just told me that, oh, you were a total 10 this week? And by asking high quality questions and explaining the answers in languages that each other can understand, it'll make things a lot easier and a lot more effortless, because you'll be communicating the whole way. Because a lot of women tend to withdraw when the guy comes on too hard and they don't really know how to guide him to back off or chill out, call a little bit less. You got to explain to us guys exactly what goes on inside of you internally, and why you need that time and that space away to wonder, and communicate to the guy what he needs to do if he's pushing things too far, too fast for your comfort or your liking. So she says, towards the end of our adventure, my boyfriend left his stuff at my house, wanting to return to me as soon as possible for 2 months in the summer this time. It made me feel super sure he is very serious about me. Us guys, we're visual creatures, and it's like if you just do it for us, you do it for us. And like in our mind, that's kind of enough. But obviously with women, just like you said, women fall in love slowly over time. And that's just something that guys have to learn, obviously, to be patient with and be understanding of it, because it's just something that you simply cannot rush. Just like trying to bake a cake in the oven, it's going to take the time it's going to take, and you opening the oven every 30 seconds to see, is it done yet? Are you in love with me yet? Are you ready to get married yet? Can we go get our marriage license today? The more you do that, the more you're going to push the person away. The more you focus on it, the more you're going to drive her away. The more you talk about the future together, the less the likelihood is that you're actually going to have one with her. And so I've always found the best thing is, unless your girl is talking about being exclusive or talking about boyfriend, girlfriend, or being in a relationship, then she's not there emotionally. And as a man, being the leader, you just need to lead it from one fun-filled romantic opportunity for sex to happen after another. Because at the end of the day, that's what a date is. If two people are sexually attracted to one another, they hang out, they have fun together, they get closer, they start touching, heavy petting. Heavy petting leads to sex. And you just do that over and over. And what happens is, over time, hanging out, having fun, and hooking up together over and over, and it's drama-free, it's always fun, there's great communication, it's about meeting each other's needs emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and sexually. You communicate in a very clear way with one another. You can it's a very simple way to have a great relationship, as opposed to getting upset that the other person didn't read your mind or didn't know exactly what to expect. And so therefore, okay, well, I'm not going to call him. I'm going to give him the silent treatment. I had a girlfriend that did that once. She'd get pissed at me, and she just stopped calling me. And I love this girl so much, and it made the relationship such a fucking pain in the ass. Because she'd be blowing up my phone 2-3 times a day, texting messages, oh, I can't wait to see you, I love you, all these sweet messages. And all of a sudden, I wouldn't hear from her for 2 days. And I'd be like, okay, obviously she's pissed about something, and so what I'd have to pick up the phone and go, what's up, what's going on? Obviously, oh, nothing's wrong, I can tell something, don't give me that bullshit, what's up? And it just, after a while, I get tired of it. I get tired of the constant creation of unnecessary drama. And at 43, it's like I'm a pretty fucking simple guy, and that's just shit that I don't want to put up with. I don't put up with that kind of BS in the friendships that I have today, or my business relationships, or even with my family members. I want to communicate in a healthy way, in a loving way, in a kind way where we all meet each other's needs. That's what it's all about. Life's too fucking short to be arguing with one another. So she says, I'm 29. I'm slowly working my way up. My career is in transition. And he's 36. And this is interesting what she says. She says it's fun to be with a successful person. He has, listen to this. She says he has a lot of good, decisive, masculine energy, and he knows what he wants. How many times have I said masculine energy is about purpose, drive, mission, succeeding, accomplishing, breaking through barriers, achieving goals? And right here, she's pointing out this is what she really likes about her guy, that he knows what he wants and he goes after it. He's fearless. He's certain. He expects to get what it is that he wants ultimately. She says he's told me and showed me many times over these past 5 months that I am the one and only, and he will marry me and take care of me and help me pursue my dreams, which is pretty much what I always wanted. He just needs to be more cognizant of your current level of attraction for him. Because right now it's obvious that he's projecting his high interest onto you. And you've been following my stuff, so obviously you definitely have the upper hand in the relationship, which, man or woman, if you're in that place, it really makes you feel comfortable and peaceful and relaxed and powerful in a relationship when you're the one basically, in other words, you have the upper hand. So you're not going to put yourself in a position where you can get crushed emotionally, or like you just are totally bamboozled by their behavior and you have no idea what's going on. It allows you to focus on the other things in your life that are really important. She says, I've decided what kind of guy I want a few years ago after my divorce, and I made a list of what I want in my man and what are the deal breakers. And he did a similar list, and simply we got the right stuff. It's amazing. It's like when you do that, it's like every time I do it, I always end up meeting somebody who does this. They believe in the same thing. They heard it from somewhere or someone else, and they made a list of exactly what they want. And then we start reading each other's lists. It's just amazing. The law of attraction, it really does work. Where intention goes, energy flows. What you focus on in life definitely expands. She says, after our trip, when my boyfriend returned home, something has changed. I started to pull away a bit, and it bothers me. I'm not sure why I'm doing this, but it got me worried. Well, I would say, obviously, you don't feel as safe and as comfortable in the relationship as you once did in the past. Probably because you're fearful. You're fearful of losing your freedom because of all this talk about commitment, relationship, you're the one for him, and all this stuff. In a way, he's kind of like he's trying to prove himself to you. And what you just need to communicate to him is just say, like, hey, I'm feeling, I noticed that I'm feeling a little distant from you, and I've kind of been pulling back since we last left, and I want to talk about that, and I just want you to know what really is making me uncomfortable is that I kind of feel in a way, and I don't want you to get upset, or I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, I just want you to understand that I kind of feel like a little rushed, and I want to enjoy this process of falling in love. I want to enjoy, if we get married someday down the road, I want to enjoy the process of falling in love. Because you and I both have made mistakes. We've both been married and divorced in the past. And I'm sure you would agree, you'd want to do it the right way this second time around. So let's just take our time and not feel like we've got to rush to the finish line or rush to get to the altar or rush to have kids or any of that stuff. Let's just really enjoy the process. Because at the end of the day, it's always best if you date for at least 2 to 3 years. Because, it's only been 5 months, and plus you're spending a lot of time apart, because you don't live in the same city together. And so it's take your time to get to know one another and communicate that to him in a way that he can understand. She says, I've had some bad experiences before, such as being cheated on and a lack of trust in anyone that followed it, but I don't think that applies to my life anymore. Especially not to our current relationship, as I trust him deeply and I'm not worried about him breaking my heart. Yeah, because you have the upper hand in the relationship. It's obvious that he's more into you than you are into him, and I think you know that. She says, I thought of it, I'm not able to realize why I'm backing off. Is it because, well, here's the thing. When someone says, and as a life coach, when I ask somebody something, they go, gee, I don't know why that is. And I go, bullshit. It was like, we always know, but we don't want to say. A lot of times when I say, what is it you really want to do? What are the kind of things that like would give you goosebumps if you were to imagine 5, 10, 15, 20 years out from now that you're actually living that kind of life? The kind of thing that brings tears to your eyes. People have something they know right away, but they're afraid to say it because they're like, oh, there's no way I could ever experience that. There's no way I could have that kind of a life. People think like that. And so as a coach, when someone tells me I don't know, it's like, you know. And how do I know? Well, I'm going to keep reading here. I'm sure you're going to throw it out there. So she says, I'm not able to realize why I'm backing off. Is it because he already wants to marry me and move me there? What did I just say a second ago? I'm psychic like that. You knew. Or is it because I have some abundance issue or fear of success issue? Or, I mean, our primary fears as human beings is we have two primary fears. Fear of success, fear of failure. Fear that we won't be loved and accepted by our peer group or our friends or family members. Or is it because I have plenty of things to take care of here where I live? It's just a level of comfort. It's only 5 months. He's pushing a little too hard. And so you're not completely head over heels in love with him where you just feel completely opened up to him. And you can take care of that by communicating to him in a loving way how he needs to slow things down a little bit and stop trying to force and push the issue because it's making you feel uncomfortable. And you don't want to feel that way. You want to be excited when he calls. You want to be excited when you're going to see him. You don't want to feel like you're losing your freedom. So you got to explain this in a way that he understands it and obviously doesn't get butthurt about it. So she says, I'd like to mention after my divorce a few years ago, I've been unable to let down my guard and fall in love deeply. Also, the more sexual that I'd get with a person, the more I would self-sabotage the dating because of fear of losing my freedom or fear of a relationship based on sexual attraction only, which was the case in my previous marriage. I really want to surrender to the love I am given, and consciously I'm ready for it, and I know I deserve to be with a great man who knows what he wants. Also, I have no problem with moving abroad, and I'm not tied up with a stationary type of job. I lived in 3 countries before, so I'm not scared of the move. I'm open about it, and we moved to this issue recently, and I can feel he backed off. And I want to be loving, but now I'm not sure whether it's all right for me to move ahead and make him feel adored as I was doing until he went back home. It really worries me that I was doing much better at being loving, affectionate, and relaxed until he went back home. So since recently I partially feel that I'm a bit cold and less sexually and non-sexually playful on Skype, I'm unwilling to let my guard down. And I'm afraid that our love would progress even faster than now. And the distance, it would get really painful. Well, I can tell. It's like when you have a girlfriend or somebody you love and they live across the ocean, it fucking hurts, man. When it's like you hang out for 2-3 months and all of a sudden they leave. It's like, you're used to waking up naked together every morning and then they're gone all of a sudden. And then it's like a month or 2 before they come back, especially like with the immigration stuff. It's a pain in the ass because you're always worried. You wait and wait and wait to see this person. They come over and you don't know if the immigration people are going to be like, no, you've been over too many times. Hop on a plane and you're not coming in this time. And they can do that and there's not a fucking thing you can do about it. So she says, obviously, if the distance was to become really painful to the point where I wouldn't be able to deal with my daily life here, I'd love to take care of his needs as I used to do. Just something makes me zone out sometimes, and I'm not in the mood in the horniest time of the month. So, I can tell basically what's going on is he's pursuing a little too much, and obviously you care about this guy and you love this guy, and he's a lot better than anybody you've met since your previous divorce, and so you want to make this work. So obviously you're the one here, and so since you're the one here, I can only help people who want my help. And so the best way to go about it is to do the things that we discussed earlier in this video and communicate exactly how you're feeling and why certain things that he's doing is making you feel this way. And just say, all you have to do is just back off a little bit. It'll make me feel comfortable. And just take your time. Make sure you express that to him. Say, I'm not ready to get engaged yet. I just want to take my time. We've only spent a couple of weekends or a couple of weeks together, and let's just enjoy the process. Let's enjoy this love story that we're creating together. That's the best way to handle it. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way to get my help is to go to my website, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and follow the instructions for booking a paid phone coaching session. If you'd like to get a digital version of my Kindle ebook, you can go to my website, and underneath the email sign up box, there's a box that has a link that'll take you right to the Amazon Kindle download page for my book. Once you get there, if you don't have a Kindle device, just download one of their free e-reader apps for whatever electronic device you want to read my book on. And if you appreciate the value of these video newsletters that I offer and the articles that are on my website and obviously my ebook, you can show your appreciation by going to my website. And on the right-hand column, there is a PayPal donate button. Click the donate button and donate any amount that you feel is equal to the value of the information. And I will talk to you soon.